Hello, and after 3 months of nothing, finally I'm back with another episode of Milan Mondays, on a Wednesday of course. Seriously though, I'm glad to be back, and as you can see I've added some decor to make the background look slightly less boring, but other than that I have nothing else to say, so let's get straight into it. First of all, let's get something obvious out of the way, and that is the debacle against Roma, because that was meant to be a good result. It was 2-0 up, we were 2-0 up with 3 minutes left to go, and how we managed to let that lead slip with such cheap goals and such awful defending from those set pieces. Like seriously, I don't know what the hell was that marking. Like I don't know how you can be, title winners and defend that badly from set pieces when apparently they were the most successful team from set pieces before that game so far this season. It's baffling to me. It took so long for it to settle, for it to sink in for me that we managed to somehow bottle that game so hard. I don't remember the last time we bottled the game that hard, because it's become custom since, since 1 or 2 years now. I think we've become quite solid defensively, and that's actually, especially in the second half of the season, that's how we won the league title. Even in games which were very nervy and very tense and the opposition were going for it, I somehow had this confidence that we would come out on top. I trusted our defence. Kalulu and Tomori were a rock solid partnership. Magnon in goal, who unfortunately we don't have now, he was sort of commanding the defence so confidently, and he was such a big presence, and I think that's another major factor why we're so much worse defensively so far this season, that we haven't had him for quite a long time. But that's not the only reason. I think even when he was in the team in those opening games of the season, we were not solid at all. Again, let's go back to last season. We were not if we were conceding cheap goals, they were very, very rare, and in many cases we were under pressure for so much of the game, but we were somehow able to withstand it because we had such a rock solid, confident defence. That is history now. So far this season, that's basically just been resigned to the history books of last season, because this season there's just been an unacceptable amount of sloppiness and just lack of cohesion in the defence. And I'm not quite sure how to explain it, because I'm not really sure what's causing it, but it's maybe a change of mentality somehow, that we've gone from one end of the scale of a good defence to another where we're just, I don't trust our defence. That's the simple way to put it. I don't trust our defence anymore. Every time the opposition attacks, I do get a bad feeling in my stomach. But I didn't really have that in that game for the most part, mainly because Roma weren't really providing much of a threat, but because maybe we didn't look solid, but we at least looked like we were in control of the game when we had possession. And we did have a lot of it. We managed to score 2 goals as well. One from Kalulu, I think from a corner, and then another one from Pobega on a counter-attack. It was looking like a comfortable victory. It should have been a comfortable victory, but it just wasn't, because of our sloppy defence. And you cannot win titles, you cannot win any big games if every time the opposition has a free kick, or every time they come forward, they have a good chance and possibly score. That's not how a top team operates. A top team has to not only command the game, but even when the opposition has momentum, they have to withstand that momentum. That's what we did last season. That's why we won the title, and that's why it's looking unlikely that we'll win the title this time round. The only way we can actually, give Napoli, try and chase them down for the title in the remaining months of the season, is to tighten up this leaky defence and actually restore some confidence back in it, because right now it's gone down the drain. Anyway, aside from that debacle, there was actually some very good news that arose over the past week, and that was some very important steps taken to try and renew Benacer's contract, because, as many of you will know, his contract is up in summer 2024, so not this year's summer, next year's summer, which is not that far away when you think about it in football terms. Time does fly by sometimes, and before you know it, his contract's up if you don't get it sorted, and it looks like we are going to secure another massive contract renewal. Now, it looks like we are. That's a major phrase there, because of course it hasn't been confirmed yet, and I will only take it as 100% that he has renewed when the club website announces it. That's my parameters. But it does look very likely because, you know, multiple reports are coming out saying that he's accepted it. I believe he even changed his agent in maybe a way to sort of make a deal with Milan. I'm not quite sure how that worked, but I know that he did change his agent, and maybe that, I think that even helped his contract renewal, although I'm not quite sure about that. But we do know a lot of the details as well. It looks like he's going to receive, pay increase, obviously, he more than deserves it, to 4.5 million a year, 4.5 million euros, which is obviously a very good wage, but it's within our wage ceiling, I believe, which is around 4.5 million, which is surprising because Benacer is very important for our team. And the other major renewal that I'm going to discuss soon, Leao, obviously is going to break that wage barrier, but, well, for God's sake, he's the best player on our team. What else are we going to do if we're going to try and renew him? So very good news on the Benacer front. Hopefully that can actually turn into pen on paper source action. And now moving on to Leao. Now I think this renewal with Leao is actually a very interesting situation, because without the pesky fine that he owes to Sporting in Portugal, I believe this renewal would already be over the line, because one crucial part of the negotiations is that he seemingly wants to stay, despite all this interest from abroad. You know, you name a big club, they want him. PSG, Real Madrid, Barca if they weren't broke. Not that they act like it, but they are. And then all the infinite money glitch teams in the Premier League, they all want him, clearly. But it does look like he actually wants to stay at Milan. He's grateful for the progress that Milan has allowed him to make over the past few years. And, well, there's no other way to put it. He's the best player on our team, as I said before. He's just so crucial to our attacks, and at times just the X factor at the time that we need. So like a moment of raw quality, Leao can often provide that, and so no question we are breaking the wage ceiling that the owners are putting on Milan to try and make sure that no contracts get out of hand. But we need exceptions to this wage ceiling for players that we really need to keep, and Leao is one of those star players, and it is very encouraging that he wants to stay. To be honest, I'm very thankful for that, because who would blame a sort of young kid, one of the best talents in the world and so much potential, for upon seeing the interest of all these massive clubs, to straight away walk into the boardroom and say, I want to transfer, I want to leave. He hasn't said that. He seemingly really wants to stay, and any stories that are coming out saying that he and his father, I think there's one that says he and his father won 10 million euros to stay at Milan, he's instantly dismissing it as fake news, and that just says something about maybe his willingness to stay at Milan. But just the fact that he wants to stay at Milan doesn't mean that he will. Of course, that will only be confirmed once he puts pen to paper, and of course the negotiations are still ongoing. I think they're slightly behind where we are at with Benacer, but obviously there's so many more caveats and so much more money on the table. But again, it is very encouraging that it seems like we are at a quite advanced stage in negotiations. Like, the wages being discussed are like 7.5 million a year, which is a lot, but for a player like Leao, in my opinion, more than worth it. And we also have to sort out that fine with Sporting Lisbon. It looks like we might have to pay it because Leao's not really keen on paying it. And there's so many different, he has a lawyer that's representing him, his father, his agent, so many different players in this negotiation. It just, it's one of those situations where you just have to wait and see. But we hope for the best with Leao's renewal, because he is just so crucial, and there's nothing I would love more than to see Leao sign that new contract. Anyway, that will be the end of the first Milan Monday episode since October, I think. It's been a long time, but finally I'm back, and I hope to translate this into a more consistent schedule where, unlike today where I'm filming this on a Wednesday, we can actually get this out on Mondays, the day that the title's named after. So hopefully see you next Monday for episode 8 of Milan Mondays, where we will be discussing the upcoming game against Torino, and is it we'll play Lecce? I'm not quite sure, but either way we'll discuss it then.